From the dawn of man, indigenous people from every corner of the globe have spoken of things that have now been discounted as myth or legend. Things they saw, lived alongside by, were looked upon as deities or worshipped by gods. Things that present-day man refer to as entities, spirits, demons, cryptid creatures, extraterrestrials, and much more. But sadly modern man, science and society has discounted what our ancestors spoke of as legend and myths. But there are those of us that know what the ancient ones spoke of is the truth, those of us who are obsessed with finding out the truth. This search for answers brings us into the world of the unknown and unexplained. It brings us on the trail, in search of living legends. Please join us tonight in another part of our journey to find these answers and bring the truth out into the light. Welcome, and thank you for listening.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 6 of our new show, On the Trail, The Search for Living Legends. And an awesome, extremely phenomenal show planned for you all this evening. First, let me introduce the crew. We've got the usuals, my usual partners. We've got J.R. Kitchen out of North Carolina. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm phenomenal, man. How are you?
I'm excellent. I gotta admit it. I'm doing very well.
I know, it's pretty exciting, dude. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this interview in particular. I've known this gentleman for years, and he's one of the most credible men you will ever meet. Anyway, Shawn Wilson. Shawn is out of Nebraska, another one of my partners in crime. Great guy, knows his stuff. Shawn, how are you, sir?
Super fantastic. How are you guys?
That is so good to hear, man. I'm good. And at last, we have our tech guy who is joining us tonight. I feel very fortunate to have him with us tonight because we're still working on a lot of kinks, and I hope you guys realize that it is a work in progress, and it's getting better every day. And with that, I want to introduce our tech guy, Zarin Kinsella, who is also a fellow research partner and friend. Zarin, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, Jeremiah, I'm doing all right. I'm really glad to be here. I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, me too, man. Me too. So with that being said, let me introduce our witness, who I'm going to call Earl. Do you have any problem with that name?
I'll probably screw it up and say my real name.
Well, we as you and I discussed the other night, we aren't getting any younger, so it tends to happen. And as far as your wife's name, if she's mentioned, what name would you like to refer to her as, or just the wife?
Yeah, Dorothy will be fine.
Okay, great. Now, Earl, I've known for a long time. Actually, why don't Earl go ahead and why don't you give a biography? Tell everyone how you and I got hooked up and what was going on. Are you there, bud? Hey, Earl? Did we lose him? Oh.
He's still on. I don't know what's up.
Earl? There we go. Did you hear me?
Yes, I did.
I do just the setting. My bad. Okay, I'm sorry. I know you probably went into everything already. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, now, why don't you start from the beginning and tell everyone how we met, how we got hooked up, and what transpired, and, how everything proceeded from there, if you don't mind.
It's going to be hard for dates and all that. It was several years ago.
That's okay. That's no biggie there.
Well, I had a few experiences while hunting, where I was the hollers and then the scream and the sound effect that I felt, and another large trackway that I found. But it wasn't until I actually had the experience at my house that I called Scott Ortega, and I actually I didn't call him. Yeah, I didn't call him. I put the picture of my foot next to the footprint with my pistol to measure the length, and he got in touch with me. And by the way, the guy is awesome fella.
Yeah.
Guy to ride he's got to ride the river with for sure. He's just a cool guy. But he got me in touch with you, and
yes,
I wasn't sure what was going on. I really didn't believe in these things for many years, but I'm a knower now. I don't believe
right.
in them. They're real.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the thing that sticks in my mind the most out of all the experiences I've had at the house, after this is my third year, the first two it was constant every day, every other day for 2 years. There was something going on at the house, the hollering and the whoops and the wood knocks and the visuals. You kind of set me on the path of not worrying so much, especially when it looked in at my grandson. That scared me, and you remember me calling you.
It scared me too.
Yeah.
And I can be honest with you about that now, but yeah.
Now, Earl, may I ask, like, did you live on the property, like, and these things, like, just, like, sort of come up, or did you, like, recently move to the property and these things were there, or kind of how did that go?
Yeah, when I bought the house 3 years ago, actually at the end of this month, it'll be 3 years.
All right.
The 2 years after I moved in, we had 2 years of nonstop activity. We had checked on the place, went down and hung out at the place, and before we bought it, because we really liked the place. It's out here, almost in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
You can travel out my back door and walk for 12, 15, 16 miles without hitting a house or a town. And it's perfect. And it wasn't we was having, sounds and whatnot coming out of the forest there. And there's another thing. I think I talked to you, Jeremiah. I think I talked to you. Maybe it was Don. I'm not sure. But after we moved in, we found a pile of bones that wasn't there, and I really didn't think nothing of it at the time, but it was kind of strange that they just showed up, and they were kind of in a placement. Okay, they were kind of in a placement there, and it was just constant nonstop things happening, growls and whatnot. But after a certain point in time, when about the time we got actually used to them being there, and looking forward to hearing them, this last year has been dead, and I'm kind of disappointed, but that's one of those things.
Yeah. Now, as far as, do you mind going into a little bit more, like, as far as, how do I put this? Before we get into your actual encounters, sightings, I mean, can you tell us a little about what else you would find on your property, as far as?
A lot of the stick breaks. It's really kind of interesting that all the stick breaks paralleled my property line, and the old fence. I've got a 20-year-old fence up there. It's all broke down, and you can only see it in very very few spots. But I know right where it's at, and all the stick breaks, and they're at 8 or 9 foot. They're all up there, and they're not broke all the way off. They're just kind of snapped and pointed in the direction of the property line. And it's strange that there's nothing in, and it's all vine maple. If anybody knows what vine maple is, or if,
Yeah.
I should say, if you don't know, it's a real tough plant. It's they're almost like vines when they're smaller. They're kind of like vines, but they're just super tough. And one that's an inch thick, you can't even break it with your hands. It's just hard
wow.
wood. And they tend to break those instead of the surrounding trees or anything. I did have 1, 2, 3, 4. I had 4 sapling. Well, I wouldn't say sapling. They're 20-foot tall fir trees. They were young, and they were all 4 snapped off at about 8 foot. And when I took my dad out there and showed him, I showed a few other people, and I came back from a job, and they were gone. They were uprooted and gone. I don't know what that means. I haven't the slightest idea, but it was really strange that it was almost like they pulled stakes and left.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's not. We've heard that how you get the next day and they're gone. That happened to me on an investigation where stuff would show up next morning, it'd be gone. But that's very common, actually. Very common.
Well, I'm not. I never even. It just dawned on me that it was when I got back off that job and went out to show somebody and they were gone.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had any activity since.
Huh. That is something to think about.
I just realized that. That's kind of strange.
Huh.
But anyway, on my side of the property line, I have vine maple up through there, and there's nothing broke on my side of the fence. So I don't know what that means.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, that kind of. This is all. I mean, it has me baffled, but I do know they're there. I've seen him.
Yeah.
And Dorothy's seen him. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I said, this is one of the most credible stories that I've heard myself. It could be Earl, that like you said, on your side, there's nothing broken, right?
Yeah, there's no vine maple broken at all.
Okay, well on their side there is.
Oh yeah, it runs all the way to the top of the ridge, and then down past the house, all the way down into that little swampy area that I got back there.
Okay, and see now that I hear all that kind of would make sense a little bit. I don't know, JR, what do you think, Shawn?
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely, man.
As far as them trying to separate, showing him what's his and them what's theirs.
Oh, yeah. Especially if it was around a stretch.
Yeah, exactly. And
Sasquatch?
correct me if I'm wrong, but it got a lot worse before it got better, if I remember correctly.
Well, after a certain amount of time, how do I say this? At first, well, I didn't believe in the dang things, and
right.
And then I'm confronted with them, so now I'm quite, I was scared to death. You know that. I called you up.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what the hell was happening, and
mm-hmm.
at first, yeah, that was scary. But then you have to live out here and
mm-hmm.
sitting outside. I mean, I'm not gonna not barbecue. I'm not gonna
right.
not bonfire. I'm not gonna not sit out there and drink. And I do all that stuff simultaneously. And when I'm out there at 2:00 in the morning, and I hear them just outside the firelight, you can hear them right there. And these aren't deer, not elk, they're not bear, they're not cougar. And the sounds that come out of there, our animals don't make. But
right.
And now it's actually comforting. I'm not gonna walk out there and invite them to a tea party. There's no way I do that. I know they're wild, but just having them around and the playfulness of them and the curiosity of them. And when I called you about one looking through the window at my grandson that just terrified all of us.
Yeah.
It was just curious. It was just what's up, and then the slapping on the house all the way around before I went on that job. That they're just trying to get a reaction out of me. I think it was a younger one because
like a teenager.
I think it was just playing, But now I'm not scared of them. But before I was terrified. I just knew one was gonna run off with my dog or one of my grandkids, or bust its way in the house. I had guns laying all over the house, and they were all loaded, and I was pretty freaked out. But now I miss them. I really do. And whether they come back, they're, what do you call that, when they go from one place to another, and they come back, or I can't remember.
Nomadic.
Well, yeah. I guess you could call it that. I was thinking more in the lines of the old tribes that would just constantly move.
Nomadic.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the fancy word right there. I'm wondering if that's not the case. They come into an area, spend some time, and then deplete the natural resources, and then leave, and then come back.
Yeah, I think it's different. Like we were talking the other night about that. I think it's different for different types, and depending on the situation. I know the ones I've dealt with up north, they stay put all year round. Depending on which area you're in. I've also got others that will leave once snow flies, and I just think it depends on the group and the type. What do you guys think?
From what I've heard, yeah. I mean, some of them stick around and some of them wander off. I think it depends on their feeding area and where the animals are, and because they got to eat and they're going to chase the deer. So wherever the deer are, you're going to find the Bigfoot.
Sure. And I'm guessing
that's what I think anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree. What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, man, most definitely. I'm sorry, I had another thought that was kind of ringing in at that moment. I was kind of contemplating about and trying to put a couple things together about the bone piles. Earl, can you?
Yeah.
Just in a moment. I'm sorry I get switched from subject to subject so fast, but that's just the consequence of having me on. But
Yeah, I'd like to hear about the bone piles too, if you don't mind.
You still there, bud?
I am.
Okay.
There's Earl.
Yeah. Could you go into a little more detail about the bone pile so these guys can hear?
Well, actually, it looked like the bones of a squirrel, but there's when I say there was bones of a squirrel, there was bones of a squirrel there, but there was other bones too, larger, like they were rabbit bones. But there was like 2 rabbit bones, and then the rest were squirrels. But there were some small bones that I didn't recognize. They could have been of a mouse or a rat or something like that.
Okay.
I've been in the woods all my life. I've ate rabbit. I've ate mice. I've ate squirrel. I know what the bones are. But there was maybe 3 different types of bones. There was probably 20 in all, and they wasn't arranged in any kind of like some kind of a A, B, C, or D. They were more. They were just laid out, and Dorth come in, got me, and told me about the bones, and I went out and checked them out, and they weren't there when we walked the property at first, and these were probably a week after after I had my sightings there, and I don't know what else to tell you. They were just some
weird stuff.
Oh, and there was no skull.
Okay, that's interesting too.
Maybe they ate the brains.
I guarantee they do. I could almost guarantee.
Sounds like they just sat down to eat a meal there and just kind of sat there and ate and put the bones down after they were done eating.
It wasn't full skeletal. I mean, unless he had 3 different little meals there, but I don't believe so, because he'd have been sitting out in the open. He'd been sitting on the edge of the property right there. I'd have been able to. I mean, somebody walked out, they'd have seen him right there. But it was they were almost. They just showed up. It was almost like it was purposely placed there. But
right. I understand.
Yeah.
Hey, Earl, I'm wondering if you could take us back to when you saw it and what you actually saw and how that happened. I'm kind of curious.
He's got a few.
Yeah. I was sitting. It was 2 weeks after we moved in. When I'm not working, I stay up late. I've always been a night person. I like the night. I'm a night guy, and I was sitting in the chair in my recliner, and my back was to the north, which is where my driveway is coming down. That's the front of the house, and I'm facing the TV, which is to the north, and just off to the TV, off to the right, you can look through and see my double sliding glass doors there. We didn't have a dining room set yet, and all the clutter you get after 3 years, but we had nothing in there. And I was looking, man, we got a chandelier that hangs there, and it shoots the light out into the backyard. And I was watching TV, and I went to commercial. And you know how as soon as it goes to commercial, you kind of just inhale to exhale, and I just looked away from the TV, and I happened to look at the sliding glass doors there, and it walked through. It walked into the light at an angle from southeast to northwest. So it was going at a catty corner from me. I didn't get to see its face. At the instant that it came into view, the cat was laying on the edge of the couch there on the arm of the chair facing the door. I thought the dang thing was sleeping, but it actually jumped up. So it's seen it too.
Sure.
That cat. I don't even have a name for the cat. I just call it Cat. But that when it walked through, it was the Patterson Gimlin
type
big. It was honest to God. It was, but it did not have breast. It had a chest. I could see the chest because it stuck so far out. These things are so thick and massive, it'll blow your mind.
That's the thing. It's not the shoulder width that impresses me the most. It's the front and the back.
So
the depth, the depth of the back. These things are huge. I mean,
unbelievable.
And when a lot of the skeptics will say, maybe you've seen a bear, and all I can say is maybe I did see a bear, but the damn thing was shaped like a Bigfoot.
Oh, that's great.
That's great. And another thing, this thing was so big it would have took you and me to be in there, and there would have been room left over in that suit. These things are monsters. It was all 8 to 9 foot tall. This thing was huge. And that's
a good
another
size
thing.
one.
how did it make you feel? How did that thing make you feel when you saw it, Earl?
And then 2 weeks later, Dorothy came in and woke me up. It was just after dark, about the time I usually get up, and she said it had walked past where I showed her. Actually, I went out and showed her where it walked past, and I don't, I know she believes everything I say. I believe everything she says. We don't lie to each other, but when I told her, it was, oh wow, yeah, okay, one of those things. It's kind of hard to get your head around. But she came in and woke me up and said, oh my God, it's out, it's just walked past. And I said, where? She said, the same place it walked, you showed me, is the same place. So I had gotten, and this is about 2 weeks later, and I got up, of course, with I have a 45 I carry on me all the time, even next to the bed. I grabbed it, my big flashlight, and I went to the window, and I put the light up to the window. You know how you put a light up in the window and you turn it on, it kind of glares.
Yeah, it'll glare.
You don't really get to see outside. Yeah, and I had my pistol up there too, and I'm looking out. And she said, "Aren't you going to go out there?" And I looked at her. I said, "No, I ain't going out there. I seen how big that thing was. No, I wasn't going to go out there." And then and over time.
Do you think that thing?
Go ahead.
Do you think it was enough a gun?
You what?
Do you think that would have been enough gun? if you would have had to use it?
No. Oh God, no.
I didn't think so.
I've got large caliber rifles. Unless you hit this thing dead in the head, I don't think that you're going to penetrate. These things are all muscle, bud. And
talk about bone density too.
Oh my God! Yeah, you hit the ribs. Got to be 4 times the size of ours at least. I'm just
for sure.
And they got to be so dense to be able to pack that weight. And that was another thing I was going to talk about was the height, because Dorothy and I argued about how tall it was from where she was sitting in my spot when she seen it, and where I was sitting, and I seen it. And we went by the top of the slider up there, and hers was, she said, was at the very top. You couldn't really see all of its head. Mine was lower, and we were arguing about that. It took all this time before, I got to thinking about it. And of course, that 40-minute, they were doing the opera out behind the house there. We had 3 of them, 3 of them going at once. And they were just, oh man, they were hollering, and I kind of got them going by going out and making a whoop. Well, not really a whoop, more of a doing like that. And anyway, they were coming back, and then I don't know why it took so long to put it together. I'm not a real smart man, but it took me a while, and I did it. And it dawned on me, she might not have seen the same damn one I did. I might have seen a smaller one.
I was just going to ask you that. Do you think it's a possibility it could have been a different one?
Well, it's a damn good possibility, because I know there's a baby out there. She watched it swinging, and it wasn't swinging and playing. It was getting the hell out of Dodge.
Do me a favor, hold off on that one, because I want you to go into full detail on that, because that fascinates me, and it's going to fascinate the heck out of these guys, too. I wanted to one more. I just want to again ask you a little bit more about. Now, you and I haven't really. I don't think we really talked about the topography of your property. Are you in a valley or surrounded by mountains or?
No, I'm on a ridge line that runs.
Okay.
It has a ridge line. Well, I'm not on a ridge line right now. I'm sitting on a ridge line looking east to be able to call you guys. All right. I'm looking I can see Mount St. Helens from right where I'm at. I can see it.
Beautiful.
Well, it's starting to get dark, but it's a beautiful picture of Mount St. Helens. Anyway, you go west, you drop down over the ridge and kind of side hill the ridge on down into my place.
Okay.
So we have a ridge to the east of us, and then, some real good hardcore timber to the north of us. Now, to the south of us, we start getting into the neighbors and the houses. But there's streams, winter streams, spring streams. But during the summer, they kind of peter out.
So as far as the summer goes, what would be I know you said during the winter you have streams, and they kind of over the summer they kind of go away a little bit. I know what you mean by that. So in the summer, how close would in your opinion, would their primary water source be in comparison to your place?
In the summertime?
Yeah. Or excuse me, in the summertime when the creeks kind of dwindle away.
Right. Now we got a year-round stream that runs just how far? It's maybe a mile from the house, I suppose.
Oh, okay.
Actually, we got them all around us, but I'm talking about down in my little hole here. If you go west from my house, there's a creek that runs along there that works its way down into the Cowlitz River, and then of course to the Columbia.
Oh wow!
And
so that's
Columbia River's right. I mean, the Columbia River's 15 minutes from me. The Cowlitz River's 10 minutes from me. We kind of they got plenty of water around here.
That's just an extremely active area. Now, was there is there any farming in this area at all, or?
Yeah, there's farming. They do alfalfa and wheat, and then of course they legalized pot, and they're growing pot. And all kinds
sure.
There's all, and then you got apple orchards here and there, and
woo, that's
it's just a little everything. I love this country.
Oh yeah. Now, how about livestock? Is there anyone that raises livestock? Or
Oh
anything?
there's some cattle. Matter of fact, not. I'm sitting right up. I got a cow pasture on both sides of me.
Have you heard of any stories where
Nope.
anyone?
Nope.
No. Okay. No, I won't even
Nope.
push that any further.
I haven't heard nothing about
Okay.
people who, but I don't think they really need to. I think if they did,
No.
that would, it would raise suspicion, curiosity. People start digging around. And I think them damn things are smart enough. They're so smart and they're so intelligent. Some of the crap that they pull here at the house and how fast they are is incredible.
It's incredible.
But yeah, but what I'm getting at is we've got so many deer here. They even what was it? 2 years ago, they were having their babies in our driveway. Dorothy couldn't even get around it. She had to, yeah, had to kind of get out there, but the mom had dropped it. And she said she didn't know how long it was there. And, I got thinking about this the other night. Because this is time when the activity was really high. But I'm wondering if that doe had why in the middle of the driveway. Why? There's got to be a reason why she had her baby in the middle of the driveway. The baby was there. She was still in the sack. The afterbirth. She was. They said she was all covered with all gore and whatnot, but the baby was half alive and whatnot. But the mom was nowhere to be found. And I'm wondering if they hadn't chased her out, she had that baby and split.
Well, very well could have been, and I've noticed over the years, with my investigations and research, that the deer will pick you as the lesser of two evils. You understand what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Like picking your driveway to have this baby as opposed in the forest where these things can grab it and make, basically that would be filet mignon to a Sasquatch, a newborn deer.
That'd be top-notch deal, man.
Yes, sir, it would be. Absolutely. Now, I remember JR, I asked you earlier, I don't know if you heard him, but when you first saw that thing, your very first sighting when it walked by your glass doors, or what were you feeling, your emotion wise?
Well, nothing actually. It was just kind of. It happened so quick. I think it made 3 full steps that I could see.
Yep.
I got 3 steps out of it that I got to see. It was almost like a flash. It flash-seared in my mind that movement, and it was so graceful. And it was like it was on a skateboard.
Sure.
It floated. It didn't bob like we do when we were bobbing down the sidewalk. It was so graceful.
Yeah.
And it was in and out, but the feeling, it was in and out, and then my little mind started going through all the files in my mind of what I just seen. Because I got elk and deer and bear and cougar and bobcat. I got all these little compartments that I'm running through them all, and I got in there that wasn't in the files, and then it dawned on me, and this happened instantly. As soon as, and then I went, holy crap! I just seen a friggin' Sasquatch, and then I got up and went and woke Dorothy up. And of course, she wasn't excited as me. She was still a little bit on the sleepy side, so she went back to sleep. She didn't even remember me waking her up. And I had to tell her about it again the next day.
Shortly after she had her first sighting.
Yeah, it was about 2 weeks, and
okay.
I think because of the property set for 2 or 3 years, it sat empty. I can't remember if 2 or 3. I think it was 3. It sat empty for 3 years for the previous owners trying to sell it.
Okay.
And all they did was upkeep. Had somebody come down and, paid somebody. They live in Eastern Washington or Eastern Oregon. Had somebody come and take care of stuff. But I think they have the run of the place is what I think, because the deer and actually elk herd come into, you could see where the elk had gathered, and they'd come in and out. and they'd all use that same hole where it was headed to when both Dorothy and I seen it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the elk. That would seem to me like you guys have a ton of elk out there. That would seem to me that, damn, that would be just as good of a food source as the deer.
Well, yeah, actually, it'd be better. They're quite a bit bigger, that's for sure. You can a nice yearling elk is bigger than any buck you're going to find around.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, they get quite big.
Yeah, and I mean, like we hear stories about them, up north, feeding on moose.
Yeah.
And so which is a massive animal. You guys don't have moose there?
No, we're too far south of that. You get up towards Canada and a little east, Seattle and
right.
northeast Seattle. There, you get into them. It's like if you try to go for a tag, you get a tag. It's a once in a lifetime thing. You get one, that's it.
Right.
If you get one, that's great. If you don't, oh well.
Right. I got you.
So I when I was younger, I wouldn't have mind hunted one, but I don't even hardly hunt deer now.
Hey Earl, can you give us a little bit? I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. Can you give us? Do you know anything about the previous owners? Do you know anything about like why they left, or do they give you any inclination of like, hey, there's Sasquatch here, we better get the hell out of here? Anything like that?
I know what you're saying. No, we never did communicate with them. We went through the realtor, and I would kind of, I wouldn't mind knowing, wouldn't mind asking them, but I haven't even asked, my neighbors. My closest neighbor's about 200 yards away, and I see him every once in a while. We BS. He's just an old timer that, makes his own honey and whiskey and all that, but I don't even bring that up. I just don't bring it up to him. It's kind of closed mouth up here. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, it is where I'm originally from too. But I'll bet I'd be willing to bet that old timer, as at some point had some sort of weird experience.
Yeah, and I've wanted to every time that I've talked to him, which is in the 2 years that I've lived there. Of course, I was home less than 4 months in the first 2 years that I was here. So, I don't know him really well, but I've had a handful of discussions with him, just BSing around the house, around the property there. And I wanted to bring it up, but I don't. It's one thing talking to you guys, but this guy is looking across the fence at me, and if he's seen him, he knows something about him. Is he going to talk to me about? Does he want me to think he's nuts, or does or do I want him to think I'm nuts? And
I understand.
It's just one of those things. I get out on a job and I'll talk to my buddies out on the job, but I'll tell them they make fun of me. I'm the Bigfoot guy because I'll tell them. I tell them all.
Trust me, we all get it too. And at this point, oh well. How I usually go about it, Earl, is with these old timers like that. I throw it out there. Hey, by the way, over the years, you ever experienced anything weird out here? And I leave it at that. And if they want to elaborate, they elaborate. And if not, I don't push it. But I understand that about not wanting to even bring it up.
Yeah, I'm kind of more.
Completely get it. I completely get it.
Yeah.
Completely get it. Now, okay. Now let's. As far as what happened next, was it the one in the tree or the one Dorothy saw swinging?
Oh, one Dorothy around. It's just that's just one more out of the hundreds of different things that's happened. To put it in a time frame, as a matter of fact, I have a calendar there at the house that I think it was you that suggested writing things down as it happened. It might have been Scott, I can't remember. But we did that for 4 or 5 months. And it was just constantly things were happening. It got to where you'd have something happen and you wouldn't write it down because it just become it started to become routine, actually.
Right. Well, I remember originally talking to you, and the way during the first conversation, like you had mentioned that, when you would leave for work, she would be there alone, and I to be honest with you, that at the time, it made me really nervous for her.
Yeah, it did me too. Yeah,
it really did.
We were all afraid of it's just unknown. At first you're not, but once you get to know it, then you're not afraid. And that instant where Dorothy was doing her walk out in the woods, every day she goes for a walk, takes the dog, and they go for a walk. And the dog has played with them. I know he has, and that's something else we can talk about. But I've had a
definitely
Bigfoot expert telling no, that don't happen. Well, unless you got one in your basement you're studying, you're not an expert. So don't sit there and tell me something that happened at my house that didn't.
That's right.
Anyway, she was walking through the woods there, and she seen a bird. She thought she caught movement up in the fir trees there, and these fir trees back there, they're between 40 and 80 feet, so they're nice ones. And she caught something swinging. Well, actually, she said it was flying, and she looked up, and when she got eyes on it, she said it was swinging from branch to branch. She said it was a big, large bird, and it was swinging from branch to branch, and it was just in a straight line, getting out of dodge. And she said the reason why she thought it was a big bird is because she saw feathers from where its tip of its wing to its underarm, and it hung down in like feathers on a bird, but birds don't do that. And then she realized, oh my God, that's not a bird. So I'm thinking it was that younger one. I think it was that one that was before I left for the fires down there. I think that is the one that is a little older than that baby. Is a little older.
Okay.
And I think that's the one that was playing with me, smacking the house, and getting
very well could have been. Yeah.
They're like puppet masters. I'm not kidding you. They do things to make you to see what you're gonna do.
I agree.
It's wild. These things they're flipping intelligent.
That's just the whole. Yeah, they're extremely intelligent.
Yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened with the bird monkey type. She said it. I showed her that Bigfoot, New York Bigfoot, baby Bigfoot, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And she said that's what I saw, but it wasn't playing. It was going. It was in a straight line, getting out of
on the move.
Yeah, it was on the move. And then the other things that's happened. I had left on a job and she had too much wine the night before or something. She didn't get up as early as she normally does.
Right.
And we sleep with our window that faces the woods there, faces north. She called me up. I was at work, and she called me up and told me what had happened. She said that she had one too many or more of the little wine glasses the night before, but she slept in, and she never sleeps in. She's always up between 4:30, 5:30, around in there. Well, it was about 8, and there was no movement in the house at all. It was just her, and she heard it right out back at about the wood line. She heard a scream. It was an actual good loud scream that woke her up. And as soon as she heard it, she sat upright in bed, which would have put her right in front of the window. And then immediately after she had sat up, she heard a whoop, and that was it. The rest of the day, nothing. It was almost like something's wrong. What's going on?
Right.
Hey! And then she sat up, and it was maybe a whoop. I'm guessing. This is all guess, man.
No, sure, it's all speculation.
It's almost like they were checking on her.
Yeah, and I think they've gotten used to you guys. I think these things do get you used to certain people and their demeanor, depending on the type. Now, don't get me wrong. Some types of these things I feel can be very aggressive. I think,
Right.
For example, the ones you've been dealing with, they've gotten used to you guys. They know you're not a threat. Now,
They're super docile.
yeah, and as far Stacy and I lived on our research spot for a year and a half, and at first there was a little tension. They got a little edgy once in a while, but after that, once they knew we weren't a threat, we never had a problem.
Yeah,
so it makes sense.
I think that's what's happened here. They've gotten used to us. We've got used to them. We're not scared of them no more. Sometimes I'll get up and walk clear around my house without a gun. I'm not afraid of them. They could become aggressive. I know they could, but there's been a lot of, unless they come back in, move back in, and set up shop, which would be great. But what if another one, not so nice troop comes in and they're not? And that's what I'm worried about. But I know
I don't blame you.
If that one that I seen was different than the one Dorothy seen, if I seen the little one, that big one, I'll tell you what, that one that she's seen, if they were two different animals, if somebody tries moving in on its territory, it's going to have a problem, because that thing
right.
Huge.
Right. I got you there for sure. Now, how about let me that's what I wanted to ask you. Now, did she give you, now, like when you talk about the thing swinging from the tree, as she described feathers, I'm starting to think that was the hair she was seeing, obviously.
Yeah, it was at a distance.
Could she give you a description at all, build wise, arm length, anything like that? No, she didn't. But she did say, the body, the actual body of it was, she said, the same size as Max. Maybe she said maybe a little bit bigger. And Max is what is he? He's about 100-pound dog right now. So, he's been a 100-pound dog, for a while. So, he's an older dog and he's getting up there in years. But she said it was about that size. Oh wow! It's a good size juvenile.
Yeah, I'm thinking it was that little bugger that was getting me to react before I went on that job down south. Yeah,
and it's funny, it seems like, and you as you told me before, whenever you would leave, that's when she would get a lot of the activity.
Yeah, I think I get more of the, I wonder what he's going to do if I do this. I wonder what he's going to do if I do that. Now, Dorothy gets more of the, she gets more of the, almost, we don't have enough time for me to go over everything, but with everything that we've dealt with, I just come to feel, I don't know, but I come to feel that they're kind of protective of Dorothy. They kept her from stepping in a real bad spot one time, and she would have went down. She said I would have ate it if I wouldn't have got that whoop. It kind of whooped her just before she was going to take a step, and she looked back, and then when she gave up on that and turned to start walking again, that had given her that stop, and before I take a step, I'm looking down, and there was a limb, a nice, actually it was a tree, a small tree that had fallen over and went down into the fern. And it was almost invisible. She wouldn't have seen it, but she said when she looked down, she looked straight down where she's going to take that step, and it was right there. So I think they're so hyper aware of their surroundings and their areas that I think they knew it was there, and I think they knew that she was going to take a tumble. But I think they're more protective over her. But when I come home. Well, this year there was nothing. I'm kind of disappointed about that because I got used to them. But when I was home, it was I'm the alpha male. I order the grandkids around. I order the kids around. I order the dog around. And when Dorothy lets me, I order her around. But it's. I think they're wanting to see what's this guy going to do. What's he going to do if I do this? Yeah. And I think they're testing me, trying to get to know me, trying to get to know my habits, what I would do in this case, these things are smart, man. They're smart.
They did it to us they've done it to us for years, tested us out,
Isn't that wild?
It is, and I'm in total agreement. And JR, I mean, you as well as anyone know, I mean, they will test you out to see what you're going to do.
Yeah, man.
If they want you out of an area, they're going to pay. They're going to make sure you get out of there. Might not. I mean, are you in agreement or?
Yeah, dude. I don't care where you are, man. You can have a Desert Eagle and a Dodge truck and a 4-wheel drive, and they'll make you leave, man.
Yeah, if they want you to leave, you're going to leave. I mean, they are very good at. I think they're very good at reading people, reading their intentions, so on and so forth. They're extremely intelligent. They're masters of their environment.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Total masters.
If you don't mind, that's another thing. When I was on the hunt down there, and I wound up in that creek bottom, and when I got yelled, screamed at, there's no way I'd even be able to imitate that sound. But when I got that yell, scream type thing at me, and it just shook the hell out of the chest cavity. It just, I had a 50, I think it was a 54 black powder rifle. And it had one with a cap on, and I had my 45 on my hip. I didn't even think about them guns. I was off and running. I used to sleep out in the woods overnight or weeks at a time. Mom would when I was a little kid, take me up there. I was never scared of the woods. I'm not scared of the woods now, but I'm more. There's more than just deer out there.
It's more. You're more weary.
Yeah, I think that wanted me out of that creek bottom. And all the time I was in that creek bottom and up above on the ridge up above, all that time I seen nothing, no fresh sign, no nothing. And I think that the freshest sign that I seen it had to be 3 weeks to a month old. Everything was there was nothing. And I think they hold up in an area and they hunt from that area. And I think it wanted me out. I wasn't going to argue something that rattled my lungs from a distance like that.
Well,
same thing happened to me. The exact same thing happened to me. I think you were probably hunting where they were hunting, and they didn't want you hunting where they were hunting.
Yep, exactly. And it's happened to me as well. As you know the story, I told you both. It's scary.
Yeah. They got their point across. I've never been back
to that area.
Yeah, I've never been back to that area, not once.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
I really pissed something off, and even the guns I had, I don't think it would have took them down. And from what I've gathered here at my house, and they'll get so close to you, it'll make your head spin if at one time you could blink everything away except it and you'd really be surprised. Because Dorothy and I was sitting out at the fire, and we kept hearing a kind of a slapping noise, and I could tell it was coming from the west end of the property. Matter of fact, about where them bones were found. And she said, it was right there. I said, yeah, I know, it was right there. She said, no, right there. I said, no, it was over here. And we heard it again. And I was looking at her pointing, to my left. She's on my right. And she said, no, right there. And I looked up, and she was pointing at a tree. And then I was confused. And she said, that tree is shaking every time that happens. The tree was 20 feet from us on my property. 20 feet. 20 feet from us. And then that's where I had some friends down south. They consider themselves Bigfoot hunters, which they're not. They like to come out and give it a shot, and I'll give that to them. At least they're trying.
Sure.
But, the gal, she was the one that actually found the footprint that was in that it's like a little cubby hole. Nothing grows down there except moss.
Okay.
And you can't see that spot from where we were sitting there.
From where you were.
And of course it was dark. It was dark, and we had the fire in our eyes. But she went back there and said, "Hey, you guys come here and look at this." And she went, and there was that actual where something would, you would not kneel down, but squat down, and how you can see if a person squats down, mostly the ball of their foot and their toes. You'll see that. Well, that's what we seen. Only it was huge. It was just flipping huge. And then, of course, well, what else? What other kind of stories? And then we told her about Harrison getting looked in at the window, and we were talking about that, how bad it scared the poor kid.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Sasquatch.
Or Earl, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I was back east on a job, and
so you were gone.
Huh?
You were gone then.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was gone. I was on a job, and I got a phone call, and something had just scared the living crap out of my grandson.
Mm-hmm.
He woke up bawling and screaming. Mm-hmm. It was just like bawling and screaming. But actually, he was sitting at the end of the bed. His mom was laying in the bed with her head towards the window, and she woke up with him bawling and screaming. And she looked up, and she could see his silhouette in at the end of the bed. So she got up and turned the light on and tried to calm him down. What's the matter? What's the matter? And of course, that woke everybody up in the house, and they went into the bedroom there. And it took quite a while for him to get him calm. You know, they got him out in the living room and got him calmed down. So what's the matter? What happened? And she said, Harry said that coyote, or he said something looked into the window at him, and they tried to find out, well, what was it? And he said, I don't know, a coyote. And I think he said a coyote with the question mark at the end, you know, and that's all they could get out of him was maybe a coyote. And if you walk up to the window, between your nipples and the nape of your neck there is where that window comes. That's not a coyote. That's not a coyote at all. It's just not. And then when they moved, when you know the marriage went downhill and they wound up coming up to us and living with us, I told them grandkids, you know, you stay away from that wood line. You don't get near it. I said, you get too close to it, a bear, a cougar. I said, a bear, a cougar, or a coyote will come out of it, grab you, and drag you back in them bushes and eat you. So I think that basically the bear, the cougar, the coyote, or the monsters, he was, I think, 3 years old. He's never seen a coyote. I don't even think he's seen a picture of a coyote. But I think that stuck in his head that a coyote will come. That's the monster. And I think that thing looks good. Well, when and that's pretty much the end of that. But when the people were up there, and I never thought of it. It was all over with and everything. But the people come up, and I got a bonfire going, and I fed them a good barbecue. We had a pretty good time. And that day before we did that, she went over and checked the tree and found the track, and then she went over to the window there, and I seen her over there looking at it, and she's really close and looking at it from different angles, and him and Dorothy and I were talking, and she turned around and said, "Hey, you guys need to come here." And we walked over there, and there was a handprint there. This hand was twice the size of mine. I mean, the finger, it was huge. The hand, and she looked at me and she said, "Would you think it would have did something like this?" And she put her hand, didn't put it on the window, but put it next to the window and kind of leaned over into the window, and it fit. It just perfectly fit. And she took some powder and did whatever people do to get a good pictures of a print. Yeah. And she did that. Took some pictures, and of course, over time, it's got wiped away and whatnot. But there was something there that looked in at him, and that's when, as a matter of fact, that's the day I called you. You guys was headed out to your hot spot there, and and I was so wigged. I was scared to death, man. I remember the day. Yeah. Now, let me ask you a question. Now, that handprint, that interests me because I in one of my encounters, I really got a damn good look at the hands. They're really, really good look. And I know we get different descriptions. Now, did this? Was this more of like a human handprint or more apish? Yeah, so more human. It was okay. It was more of a human. Actually, it looked like when I put my hand up to it, and of course we didn't touch the window, but put your hand up to it. It had it looked like my hand, only massive, just massive. I mean, this hand could have wrapped around a football damn near.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep. Just curious, because we get different descriptions, obviously, because of the different types. That's all.
Yeah, and when I tend to bounce around too, because I just had this thought about the hand, because I seen the hand really good, and it's still fresh in my mind. It's almost like that happened yesterday. But when it walked past the window and it was walking in an angle away from me, from right to left, and I told you it kind of floated and whatnot, but their knees are constantly bent when they're walking. You know how ours are locked and we kind of pole vault across the across the terrain. These things, their knees are unlocked. They're unlocked and they carry themselves that way, and their arm swing. When I think when they're relaxed, because it was relaxed walking by, and they hang down, and I could see I could see the whole palm. They don't walk like us.
Nope.
They don't.
That's right.
They don't walk like us, where we got our hands pointed towards our thighs. It was walking. It was actually. It struck me as strange, but that's how the hand was when it swung. I could see the palm of the hand.
Yep, that's exactly what these guys and I have talked about that several times. We've noticed. Totally different. And as far as the knees go, you're absolutely right on the money there too. And I'll tell you something else. When they walk, and this is, I'm sure, I know y'all know this anyway, but I'll mention it to the new viewers out there that are just getting into the field. The reason their tracks aren't side by side like ours is because when they take a step, something about their knee, it pivots back in. You know what I'm saying?
As they walk, they do.
Yes, as they walk. That's why a Sasquatch track line, it's straight, one after another, not side by side like our feet.
That is absolutely right, because the track line that I seen, it wasn't. You could see a right and a left foot. You could see the right and the left foot, but they were. If they had the identical, if they had the big toe in the middle and then little toes out, you wouldn't be able to tell whether it was right or left, right?
Wait, say that again. I didn't quite catch what you were.
If your big toe was in the middle, and if it was in the middle and you had two off to the right and two little ones off to the left, and if that's the way we were, and you could walk, you could still tell a human human trackway, because they're spaced at the hips. They're spaced the width of the hips apart, basically.
Yeah.
These things were in a dead straight line, and you could tell which one was the right, and you could tell which one was the left.
That's right. It's just those knees pivot. There's something about them. Whether it's a joint or whatever, but it pivots back in to create that straight track line. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's right on the money, man. Right on the money. It's interesting. That's universal. I found. As far as the different types, they'll all leave. Their track lines like that. They all walk like that. As far as
that's basically from here all the way back east, or I
yes.
Yeah.
The track lines from up north are the same way. I'll show you. I don't know if I sent you that picture or the one I got from a couple of winters ago. A set of two different creatures, two different individuals, just like that. That the tracks were the two. They were walking side by side, but their individual footprints were one behind the other. You know what I mean? In the straight line.
Yeah. Well,
so that's universal.
This whole thing for me, growing up in the woods and being out there, and also we were talking about, when I was talking about that feeling I got in my chest, that actual vibration and everything. I was sitting down there talking to Dorothy about it, and there's something to that, because when I was a young kid and spent weeks in the woods after, I learned how to actually spend time up there. My mom kind of showed. I don't think she wanted me to come back because I
Right.
would have did that. To my kids, they'd have died up there. But
Right.
I would have things coming into my camp, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden I would come down really, really weak and shaky. Actually, have
Sure.
to lay down. I would hear or feel. It's hard to explain, but it would be like a thump, or like if you dropped a log on 50, 60 feet away from you, that vibration. That's what
Right.
I felt. And I, looking back, because I used to, up until a couple of years ago, I didn't think the damn things were real. I really didn't.
No.
And then all of a sudden, in the last several years, it was forced upon me. It just happened.
Sure.
It's been a hell of a ride for some.
Yeah, I can imagine, man.
I don't get into like I go to fairs and ride all the rides and all that. I just I like an even keel life. Well, I'll tell you what, when that thing walked past my my back door there, it was like waking it. And since then, it's been like just waking up on a roller coaster. Just waking up, not getting on it and getting ready for the ride. I woke up on a roller coaster, and it's been cruising ever since. Well, except this year it's been dead, and I'm really disappointed.
Been dead,
about that.
yeah. Well, I have a feeling that they're gonna pop up again. I really do.
They always do.
They JR's right. They always seem to.
Yeah, man. They're creatures of habit. They will be back one day.
They will be. They will be. They will be.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I just hope that, I knew I was going to have several months off this year, and I'm thinking, maybe they'll come back. And, the last time when they disappeared was about this time, and I thought, well, maybe they'll come back. And it's been dead. The only thing that's actually happened that kind of raised an eyebrow was Dorothy was on a walk, and she has a way of inhaling when she whistles to call the dog, and and the dog would come right to her. But she had the dogs. She had my daughter's dogs with her too. And they know her whistle, and they were all in a group, and they're cruising and coming back onto the property, and she said it came from our property. On the side of the ridge there. She said it was my whistle. It was so much my whistle that the dogs stopped and turned and looked at her. Like
it was a mimic.
Yeah, it was a mimic. That was it. I mean, I ain't gonna say it was Bigfoot because birds will mimic. But and I wasn't there, so all I can do is go by what she said. But I really found that curious.
Yeah, for sure. And we were back to the nomadic thing. I mean, look at the Native Americans. Okay, they had their certain regions where they considered home, but they would travel. They would travel from place to place, but they would always end up returning to where they had originally been set up for home.
Right, it's the same thing. I think I talked to you about this a while back, about when I was, grew up in the woods. I'd always make a base camp, and then I'd hike out to, 2-3 miles one direction, and then I'd camp out, and then I'd come back to base camp, and then I'd take off a different direction. That's how I got to know an area.
Yeah.
And all the time I'm out there, you're looking for food constantly, and that's another thing. When people tell, well, what do they eat? Well, they eat everything.
They do.
When I was out there, I ate everything. If I found a mouse, I ate it. If I found periwinkles, I ate them. If you find wild potatoes, onions, whatever you find out there, you're either looking for wood, you're looking for shelter, you're looking for food, and always keep a water source close by. And that's what I did. And when people say, oh, what do they eat? Well, they eat everything. If they get a hold of a deer, they're going to eat it.
Yeah, absolutely, and they will eat. They will eat anything.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
I was constantly hungry all the time I was out there.
They're an omnivore like we are. Vegetation, berries, meat.
Yep.
and they're definitely good at what they do.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a hell of a subject. Just from what I was, raised and into my adulthood, just somebody bring that up, all horse manure, and now here I am talking to you guys about it.
I think we all kind of feel the same way.
Yes, for sure, Shawn. for sure. Yeah.
Sasquatch.
This might sound like a stupid question, but is there a lot? I mean, is there a lot of as far as rodents go? I mean, I know you mentioned the pile of rodent bones. Is there a lot of an influx of them?
Oh man, yeah, I probably, if I was to hit my headlights right now, for one thing, at the top of the ridge here, there's a house off to the left of me, and they've got a rabbit coop, and the rabbits breed with the wild rabbits, and we got all kinds of different colored rabbits. But down around my house, back out in the woods there, sometimes I'll flip on the porch light late at night and just kind of look out and see what's out there. And there'll be 4 or 5 rabbits in the yard just munching on whatever they can find. We got rabbits, and then the mice, and you have the forest mice, which I've ate, and they're really good, actually.
Well,
I wouldn't eat one from town, but out here.
No, I've eaten squirrel, and I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
Squirrel is not bad at all, and squirrel is nothing but a rodent,
Yeah, I had an aunt that just swore by squirrel brains, but there's no damn way you're going to get me to eat them. I won't do
Me neither.
No, we could leave the brain out of it. But I was just curious, maybe there's so many rodents that, on that property. Maybe that's one of their favorite snacks, Yeah, very possible.
Well, and that brings me back to when I was young and I was out there. I might take a little snack or two to go. When I first get there, I'm out. I got to find my own food, my own water. We got to find everything, and like I said, anything and everything that come along. I mean, I would be happy if I found, certain food type. I'd be, it's not only going to fill my belly, or put something in my belly, it's going to taste good. But there's other things I ate out there that didn't taste so good, but I knew I had to eat. And you're constantly looking for food. That's what you do. That's a hunter-gatherer. You're just constantly. Yeah.
That's right. Yep. You were without a doubt. And
I think that's what they are. I don't know. I don't know if they gather food and hoard it for a winter, or hoard it for later, or they just gorge themselves and hope for a next meal. I don't know what they do, but
I truly believe they stash food. I do.
You do.
I do.
That's a possibility.
I've heard reports from actually your neck of the woods of people finding large piles of berries on top of leaves. In
Is that right?
what they refer to as bed down areas. Yeah.
I'll be doing
to me, it makes sense that they would. I don't know, just my opinion. That's all speculation for us.
And I'll tell you, that's all it is. One thing that I'm not an expert. I am never going to claim to be an expert.
Never.
I don't believe there is an expert, but I can tell you one thing for sure. And I'm an expert on this. They are real. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
They do exist. That's the best I can do for you, bud.
No, trust me. We're all in agreement because we've all had experiences. I mean, so we're with you. We're knowers too. Poor Shawn, his first experience. I mean, Shawn, you mind if I give him a little detail on your thing?
Go right ahead.
The poor son of a bitch, and pardon my language, but he was archery hunting. So I can only imagine, if having to defend yourself against one of these things, if it did decide to get mean with a bow.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I
don't know if you felt that way, Shawn, when you were.
Well, what it made me feel like is one of those squirrels that you guys are talking about. I went from being the biggest, baddest thing in the woods to nothing.
Yep.
Just like that.
To a squirrel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
I know that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I know that.
Yeah.
You're carrying some of the larger caliber firearms. A 54 caliber, and I ran like a scared rabbit.
Oh,
right.
I get it, man.
And I remember walking in, when I was younger, and in my 20s and 30s and 40s, I'd walk into the woods. I'm going elk hunting or deer hunting. I walk in there, and I'm thinking, yeah. I'm the biggest. I'm the baddest. I got guns here that'll take down an elephant, and I still wouldn't take a shot at them. And when all of a sudden, that moment in time when actual reality strikes, and you realize that you're not. You're a fly compared to these things. I think they can easily actually tear your head off. Well,
and I'll bring up an Apache legend that's one of the ways they do it. They'll grab onto your torso with one hand, grab onto the top of your head with the other, and they proceed to rip. And the scary part about that is I have a cousin that's a neurologist in Ohio, and I actually asked her about that, and she said the way the brain works, after you are decapitated, you have about 20 to 30 seconds to actually, if this thing decides to do whatever with you, you actually witness it for about 20 or 30 seconds while your brain shuts down.
Man.
Well, you just made it worse for me.
Yeah, I'm sure I did. But it's true. That's the truth,
Mackerel.
Yeah, you have about 20 to 30 seconds before you actually, you're dead, but your brain is still functional for about 20 seconds.
It's still working. You know what's going on.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's like petting a dog backwards, man. That ain't right.
No, it ain't.
Right. But can you just imagine the terror of that? My God.
Yeah,
I truly believe that they aren't going to give you any problems unless you pose a threat.
Yeah.
Unless it's an extremely aggressive group, which down where we're at now, JR and I, the groups we're dealing with are pretty edgy, they can be pretty.
They're really nasty.
Yeah, extremely. And I think a lot of that also has to do with the type, for one. Second of all, I think a lot of it might have to do with the way the alpha sets the tone for the rest of the group.
Well, what type, when you say type, what type do you have there that you're talking about in your area right now?
Good question. I truly believe that there's subtypes within the subtypes. We've got out my way in the swamp area and the national forest I border, and I'll text you which one after. I'm not going to say it on the air, but a lot of sightings, and they're very ape-like.
Oh, no kidding.
Extremely ape-like, and like I said, they get very, very, very nasty. And I know as far as Jay, where you're at, we've talked about this several times, and he and I think we might be dealing with a different type. I think the ones he has out there are a little bit bigger.
So what type do you think I got walking through my backyard here?
I think you personally had the classic Patty type one.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I think what you're dealing with is the classic Patterson Gimlin type.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. But like when in a classification, what do you class them as? A 2?
Right. Yeah. See, I'm tending to kind of, as far as the 1, 2, 3, and 4, I'm I've revamped my thinking on that a little bit, because I truly believe there's way more than 4.
Right.
I believe that.
Like it would be like a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and then a 1A, a 1B, a 1C.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's my belief, anyway. Personally, just speculation, of course.
So
but it only makes sense.
So if I go out and get me some fancy cameras, spend a couple $1,000 on a couple really fancy things,
Yep.
I was kind of wanting your input on what would I get. I know we talked about the Starlight, but what do you think? Do they have cameras that you can hook up to your house? And
yeah, there is.
And they run off of infrared, not infrared, but heat, and that's it.
So thermal. I wouldn't recommend infrared because I truly believe they can see it.
Yeah, they can.
I do.
And not only that, as far as lights go, they I thought it was you, but it might have been someone else I discussed this with. They were knocking out someone's lights, and I think they don't. I think it hurts their night vision for one. They don't like the lights. But as far as cameras go, man, I wouldn't waste your time on any trail cams because I truly believe they know what they are and they know what they do.
Right. I just want to find something I get up and just let it run.
I would get that and Earl, I would invest in a thermal.
Thermal and FLIR.
Like a thermal scope, for sure. Yep. Thermal spotting scope. Yep.
Now, they don't put out any light. They just bring it in.
That's correct. Off the heat. Let me double check with our tech guy after. He can actually tell you exactly what you need. Do what you want to do. But stay away from it. Go ahead.
Yeah, the infrared I won't do because I've heard too many stories. Plus, I put up trap cameras out here just to see what deer I've got on the animals I have on the property.
Sure.
And just never. Plus, you hear.
Never.
I think they can see the damn. I think they can see it. I really do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'd like to put up some of them thermal count because they will actually, when we're outside, they'll come right down to the tree line, and the campfire will hit the woods, and then you got some of that viney maple in there, and you have some alder in there, and it glares back at you with your night vision. You look at it, and because you've been watching the fire, you look up, and it just glares at you. It's like a wall of black behind the glare. But
right.
Something like, and we'll be sitting there, and you'll hear them coming down from the top of the ridge, and actually snapping branches or whatever they're snapping up there, which I believe is my viney maple. Well, next on the next property there, and that's a timber company. Nobody privately owns that, but
right.
They'll come down there, and you'll hear them come in, and the snap starts on top, and then you'll hear another snap 10 minutes later, and it's lower down, and then it just gets closer, and then it gets to a certain point just about where the line of those trees that I said it was snapped off at 8 that disappeared.
Right.
And then you'll hear them out to the north further. It's kind of like they come down and then make a right turn and go away from you. But they come right, I mean, if I could see back into the dark, you would see them walking. You'd see them standing there. And they've stood there. And when buddy of mine, Scott, he big feller, he come out, and we was sitting out there bonfire having drinks and we just sipping on adult beverages. You're not getting plowed, but
right.
Yeah, something was just right. I mean, it was in the viney maple, just off the property, and on this little knoll that we got to the east of us or northeast of us. It's just right there. It's not 40 yards from us, from where we're sitting, and it was a long whoop, and then a real short, quick one, and it really, honest to God, it sounded playful. It wasn't a serious whoop. It was almost a playful type whoop, and Scott, he's heard all of our stories and everything, and he said it's not that I didn't believe you. It's just that I hadn't heard it. He said,
he had to experience it for himself.
And this poor guy, I mean, I think he went home about 2:30 in the morning. He made me walk into his truck because he didn't have his gun on him.
Well, it's I don't blame the man, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it scared him that bad. This guy's 200 240, 50 pounds. He's 6 foot, I don't know, 6'4", 6'5", great big fella, and he's not fat. He's not fat, and he told Dorothy, you need to. He said, where's your gun? And she said, in the house. He said, go get your gun, and she said, okay. And she went and got it, and it was a little pink lady 38 laid it next to him, and she said he looked at that and looked back at her and said, we're gonna have to get you a bigger gun.
Yeah, I mean,
that is how it affected him. And to this day, he recounts it over and over. You know, it was something. Oh, and before that, he was taking a leak, you know, over there by the right at the edge of the timber there.
Yeah.
And he turned around and he looked at me and he said, man, there's something walking around out here. I said, that's probably a deer. He said, no, there's something out here and it's on 2 legs. He said, it's walking like a man. And of course he hurriedly got back to the fire, and it was probably maybe an hour later that we got that whoop, or the 2 whoops, the long one and the short one.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if him urinating like that in their little area might have, you know, I wouldn't say pissed him off, but maybe like, hey, what are you doing? That's where I take a leak, you know.
And and you get to think about it naturally. What do mammals do? You know, what do carnivorous animals that are dominant? What do they do? They spot by peeing on it. Dogs do it. I'll go outside of a night, you know, and go out in the side yard there at the edge of the property, and I'll take a leak right there, and my dog will stand behind me and wait till I'm done. He'll come up and do it too, you know, right in the same spot. So I wonder if that didn't. Hey, what do you think you're doing there? What do you think you're doing? You're peeing on my side, dude.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I've done it as far as like trying to get a reaction out of them, and that theory is about to be tested in a couple of weeks. Also, is it not, JR?
That's right, man.
You know, and to be in all seriousness, you know,
load up on that herbal Mountain Dew.
We are definitely gonna load right up, and we're gonna make our scent known. But
we're gonna piss them off and piss on them.
That's right. But yeah, Zarin he just messaged me and he said, if you have the funds,
Sasquatch,
which you, Earl. I'm so sorry.
Hey, no, it's no big deal.
What you need, he recommends a high-quality thermal, which can zoom in and it can record and take still shots.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That he said that's what you want. And they do make their own binos. And what's that, Shawn?
Video and still shots, yeah.
Exactly, that's what you want.
A good digital thermal would be a good idea.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I got another question for you guys. You think they can? How do I say this? You think they can sense electronics or hear electronics?
Yes. I do personally.
Yeah, they know those trail cameras are there somehow.
Yes, they know they're there somehow.
And I think
it's hard to say. It's just so hard to say, you know. I
thought about getting a couple GoPros, and I know where they're coming from and where they're hanging out. They're hanging out north and west of my property in the timber, and there's a deep draw down in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about getting some GoPros, taking some GoPros up down there, but that's a waste of time if they can hear the damn electronics. Why even bother?
Well, they're going to hear you anyway. They're going to know you're coming. And a lot of people have actually captured images on GoPro. There's one of a dog with a GoPro on his back going down a trail, and he catches an image of a small Bigfoot crossing the trail right in front of him. So I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I think it's possible that you get something.
Yeah.
Well, I think while I'm gone this year, I think I'll invest in maybe 2 of them. Put on the west side of the house, one on the north side of the house, and if I get anything, I'll send them to you.
Have you ever put any recording equipment and captured any of these whoops or anything? I know Don does that, and he gets quite a bit.
There's what you need.
Squatch.
That's what you need to do, Earl, is get some, try to get some.
Sasquatch.
I know, I've done messed it up anyway, so.
Well, it doesn't matter. I'd have messed up too. Anyway, well, that's kind of why I didn't answer you before at the beginning. I'll go ahead, Earl, and I'm waiting for Earl to go ahead.
Right, I got you. Okay. I'm sorry. I apologize, man.
I knew I was going to mess it up one way or another. But,
no, I was the original one that messed it up.
Anyway,
so it's on me.
I did this year that the people that came up kind of big, they're interested in hunting, but they just didn't hunt. They just kind of hung around the property, which was cool. But they showed me what to get, and I bought one. And I bought one and started setting it out there. And I started setting it out there. Well, by the time I got it, they wasn't around. They'd been gone.
They've been gone. They took it. Now here, I gotta get a tip for you.
They didn't take it. They'd been gone. I haven't had no.
Oh, okay. My bad. I missed what you were saying.
But I did buy one, and it was a hokey one, a cheap one. I think it costed $49 or something like that. And I do have it here. When the daughter, she's got a good job now, and she's going to be moving out first of the month, which is great. But when that happens, we're going to go through and completely clean the house and get it all back to where it should be. But I've got a tape recorder in there, and I've got it on there. I put it out about 40 yards out in the timber.
Yeah.
And I put it over that kind of swampy area that I got down there. And it kind of faced out into that. Yep. And it was kind of raining, so I stuck it up in a Budweiser glass and tilted it so no water got in there. And I let it, and you can hear the tinking on there from the rain. And believe me, there's nobody out there. And then you hear, and I'm not kidding you. If I get it, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
If I can find it, I'll have to send the whole thing because I don't know how to do all this fancy, the sending stuff. I'll have to put it in an envelope.
We're just getting there too. Trust me.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But you'll hear it, and this is the way it goes. It goes like this. You can hear it. You can hear it too. It goes. Wow. And then it goes, hey,
wow.
I am not kidding you. I couldn't believe it.
No, we believe you.
Samurai chatter.
Yeah.
Awesome.
JR, if you.
It was the damnedest thing.
Yeah, man. If they start barking, you got a problem. But the worse than that, if you bark back, that's the worst problem ever, man.
Oh,
they don't like the bark for some reason. But the samurai chatter, like a dog bark, they don't seem to like that for some reason.
I ain't gonna do something like that because I don't know what I'm saying. I might.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's.
You trying to pick up on my old lady, man? Whoa.
Exactly. That's the problem I have with like these people that go out and all they do is vocalization after vocalization. You don't know what you're saying to them.
Nope.
Right. You could be saying, "Hey, man, your wife's hot. I'm coming for her." Or let's get down. Let's throw diesel. I mean, we really don't know.
I'll do that every once in a while. I'll give a good whoop out there, and back in the old days, as I call them, because it's been a year, but a couple of years ago, I'd go out there and give a good, strong whoop, but not a super duper aggressive whoop. But I do like an inquisitive whoop.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get them back. But
and other times you won't. I know that when I get to my spot, I usually I'll do one. And Jay and I were talking about it the other night, and it's basically they're in the area, they're going to respond to it.
What I found.
Particular way I do it.
Yeah, with what I found up here at my spot, I don't know about all of the other places,
Mm-hmm.
but what I found is I'll do one, and if I don't hear nothing for 10, 15 minutes, I'll do another, and then that's it. But if I do one and get them going, I
Yeah.
don't make a sound. I just kick back with my Crown and Coke, and just sip my Crown Coke and listen to them.
There
It's really
you go.
cool. It's
And that's
really cool.
That's the best thing you can do, like JR always says, and Shawn, we've all agreed. You go in there, you make it look like you're minding you're right, your own property. But when we go out and we do these expeditions, we go in and we don't even make it look like we're looking for them. We set up a camp, build a fire, make it look like we're just camping, having a good time, and they will come in and check you out.
Yep,
they will.
know. That's what they do at my house.
Yep. I mean, and if they, if they're there when you get there, they know the second you walk in that area.
Yep. Yeah, if I can find that tape, I'll sure send it to you, and you'll get a kick out of that.
Me too, for sure.
If you can get somebody that's all, do their magic and everything, and cut the tinking out.
We got a perfect guy, actually.
There you go. And you get that cleaned up, I sure wouldn't mind a copy of it.
Okay, we could do that for you.
All right.
If someone I want to, go ahead. I'm sorry.
When I got my fancy one, it's got like 2 little ears on it. You can actually tell which way the sound's coming from by. It's hard to explain, but it'll tell you basically which sound it's coming, because if the sound comes from the right, the little light on the right lights up when it's playing back. And if it comes from, and almost like you can hear where, of course, I'm the one that puts the damn thing out there. I know which way I had it pointed, but I got this fancy one now, so I thought, okay, I've got the sound of that thing talking, and I'm going to put it right here. I'll always know where it's at, and nobody will find it. And I haven't seen it since, so I've looked for it. I can't find it down. I don't know. I mean, if it was $100, I'd have to write it off, because I can't find the dang thing.
Well, I tell you what, to be honest with you, the best one, and this is going to sound really cheesy, but the best ones I've used over the years, man, were the just cheapies you get at Walmart. To be honest with you,
yeah.
I mean, I've never spent a lot of money on any recorders, and I know that sounds cheesy, but to be honest with you, the best luck I've had was with those types of recorders. Just the inexpensive ones you can get at Walmart, and we got no complaints. I really don't. I believe these things can throw their voices.
Well, and that's another thing. If you guys can get cleaned up, I think you're going to hear, because I listened to it over and over and over, and I could have swore that where that voice broke off, another one, and it sounded like it might have been further back, because it was not as strong, and it sounded like there was another voice in there. So I'm wondering if they wouldn't, talking their talk back and forth. But it really threw me off when it went, hey.
Yeah, that's definitely strange for sure. Jay, the chatter, you hear more than I do. Does that sound familiar to what you've heard?
My chatter is more along the lines of just normal, like the Sierra Sound stuff. They don't really hear like a lot of odd sounds or anything. It's all
right.
It's all either like I get like a strange bonk with a piece of wood on a tree, not really like a tree knock. I get rock clacks sometimes.
Yeah.
And of course I get a whoop, and I've been growled at and all kind of weird.
Oh yeah.
But it's never anything comical. It's never anything cool. It's always me going out there and trying to piss them off, and then they get really pissed off, and then I end up leaving. Leave my so fast.
Oh Jesus, it's funny. Shawn, unfortunately we're running out of time, guys. I hate to, God, we're in the middle of such a great interview, but I hate to cut this short. But Shawn, you got any last questions, bud? You want to ask?
No, I don't really. I mean, we could go on and on and on and
We
on.
could. We could go on all night. I mean, but
It'd be great if he would come back though, and maybe do another
Yeah, definitely.
interview sometime and kind of go into the other stuff.
what do you say?
Sasquatch.
At some point, when I know you're leaving soon, but whenever you get back and you get some free time, would you be willing to do that?
Oh yeah. If I get called to that job, it's going to be a 2.5-month job, and then
Okay, that's no
that,
problem.
But that's not for sure. But I'd love to, because that story about the wood knocks when the three of us went out there after they screaming all night, hollering at us all night. That was really neat.
Yeah, well, definitely. We'd love to have you back on for a second part, for sure.
Yeah,
And
I would love to,
you think Dorothy would mind coming on with you?
Yeah, I can bring her up with me.
Okay,
that'd be
because
awesome.
we'd love to hear from her too, definitely.
Absolutely.
But we really appreciate it, man. I know, it's touchy subject, and I know it's tough to try to work around work and everything else and try to do one of these interviews. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah, you gotta. Well, I'm on vacation now. I'm healing up from having a foot race with my grandson. I beat him the first time. The second time I went down and broke. They said multiple rib, dislocated rib.
Oh, jeez.
I pulled both hammies, and I got a hairline fracture in my leg. So from here on out, I'm just gonna say, go ahead and show me how fast you are. I'm not gonna. Yeah.
Right.
First time though.
There you go. So yeah, there you go. As long as you got them once. But yeah, we appreciate it again, and we'd love to have you back on for part 2. Anyone out there, that's would like to come on the show, you can get in touch with myself, Shawn, JR. Even I don't know if I don't even think our tech guy Zarin would mind. He can always hook you up. Also, you can reach me now at onthetrail.jf@gmail.com. Just remember, never point a gun at one of these things unless your life is in danger, and never interrupt a hunt. That is my words of wisdom for the evening. What do you got, JR?
Well, if anybody in the Southeast needs me for any of their Sasquatch needs, or any part of the country for that matter, I'm on the trail.jk@aol.com. And the most important piece of advice is just be smart enough to know what not to do, man.
That's right.
That's right.
Well said.
Keep it all in a straight line and watch your ass out there.
That's right. Be
so much. I appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And Shawn, what do you got?
Well, if you need to get a hold of me, it's onthetrail.sw@gmail.com. As far as advice, be prepared. Don't go alone. Take a gun. And my new thing is also maybe an air horn and flashlight, a really, really bright flashlight. And I don't mean the crap you buy at the store. You can order them online from Amazon through ThruNight or WowTech. Get a 10,000 lumen flashlight and blind one of these guys, and you got a chance to get away.
There you go. Good advice.
Oh, and thanks a lot for coming on. This has been a really good
awesome
interview. You've been very, very informative, and I really appreciate you for coming on.
You bet.
He always is. He's great. I told you guys he's probably one of the most credible witnesses I've ever interviewed. He's a great guy.
Very, very fascinating.
I've known the man for years. He's legit. Good friend of mine. I've always considered him a friend. Anyway, so do you have any advice for people out there, bud? For those getting into this field?
I think, hey, if I could interject here, I think that the best advice I've heard from you guys is don't point a gun at them.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but that
No, you weren't interrupting, because I was just about to ask you what your advice was to newcomers in this field.
Yeah. I'll come back. We'll do this again, man. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's definitely fun as always, bud. Always a pleasure having you on. you know, and stay in touch for sure.
Yes,
Keep
sir.
us updated.
I will.
And be careful on that job site, man. We're all,
Yes, sir.
all of us here are into the same type of work, so we know how it can get. So just be safe, all right?
Yes, sir.